Hi, welcome to the Believe Africa podcast, where we're having conversations that inspire, creating minds that revolutionize. I am your host, Cyril Aweri. For this episode 4, Character Building 101, we have our guest, Prince Kofi Amoabeng, who was the former Group CEO of UT Group. Uh, Kofi has a background in the military and is going to share with us his insights on how to build a strong character. So, Kofi, welcome.
Thank you.
It's been great having you here.
I feel honored being here.
I feel honored having you here. And you have an amazing story, which is why we felt that it would be appropriate for you to be speaking to this topic about character building. So if you could kindly just give us a quick background of yourself for the benefit of those that don't know you. Of course, there's a lot of people that do know you, but yeah, a quick background of yourself and what gave you the spark in your journey through life. What gave you the spark to develop this interest with character?
Okay, thank you very much, Cyril. Where do I start from?
Yes.
I'm a 72-year-old, 72 young, old.
Yes, that's a better way to put it.
Young or old, whatever it is. I feel young and I feel blessed.
That's
big
great.
Time.
Yeah, that's great.
And I'm retired from UT Bank
Yes.
and the whole UT group of companies.
Yes.
And I am now immersed in creating African leaders with a revolutionized mindset.
Yes.
If I don't sleep in the night, it's not of what I've done or what I didn't do. It's about where Africa is going, especially with respect to the youth. So what can I do about it? I need to share my experiences from business and from military background and everything
Yeah.
to the youth, to entrepreneurs, to managers, whatever. So to start off with, I've written 2 books based on my experience with UT, creating a UT story up to where it got to. And there's a 3rd book about the bank, which most people are looking forward to, which should come out the first half of this year.
Okay.
And outside that, I have formed a foundation called PK Amoabeng Leadership Foundation.
Ah, yes. I think I remember seeing this on Twitter.
Yeah. And the aim here is actually related to this topic to create leaders with a different mindset.
Yes.
And so I go to schools, I go to companies, I go to entrepreneurship sessions and share my ideas with them as to how they can create different cultures. It's very important to create a different culture if you are the leader.
Yes.
Because we're coming from upbringing and traditions that create cultures different from what you need to create a modern culture.
Maybe a bit of a disservice, right?
Exactly. So I'm doing that, and the flagship program on the PK Amoabeng leadership is what we call the PK Amoabeng Scholars. It's funny I should put it that way, but I'm trying to clone myself in some of these young people.
Yes.
And the emphasis is on creating the right values and the culture and attitudes of these people.
Yes.
And it's difficult because you create it in an environment which doesn't allow that, or that despises that goes against you when you live by those standards. And it's quite exciting because I took the first cohort, numbering 20, and I took them to Jungle Warfare School to experience the military kind of leadership. And how to bond and be able to endure exercises and things like that. And they had a taste of military leadership, which for me is the ultimate leadership.
Of course.
Because I experienced it exactly. And so on and so forth. And I'm very passionate about that. So that's what I'm spending my time on now.
Right.
Except I also spend time in court because I have a court action against me, but that's a different story.
That's a different story.
And
yes.
we're talking about mindset, not
yes,
court.
exactly.
So that aside, I must say that I had a stint in the army from university, national service. I joined the army for 7.5 years. Unfortunately, even though I loved the army and I thought I was going to retire in the army or die in the army, it was within an era that I couldn't see my dream come true.
Right.
Because I entered the army in 1975.
Oh, wow.
In 1979, whilst I was on a course in the UK, there was the first coup AFRC. And then it was whether I should come back or not come back, but I came because I had to feel it. And the military had handed over power to Liman, his government. I came back 1979 December, and by 81 December, there was the PNDC coup. And I saw my beloved institution turned completely upside down, with a flight lieutenant at the head who will not change and call himself general. And you have other ranks, members of government, and therefore members of the armed forces, with generals saluting captains, and you didn't know what to do when you met corporals. And complete disrespect in most things. And therefore I packed my stuff and I said, I've lost interest in my institution. So I left the armed forces in December 1982.
So there was major structural changes with the...
It was usurpation. They usurped the structure, the organization and everything, turned it upside down, if you ask me. It was difficult for me to accept that. But anyway, so without a plan B, I just left the armed forces. And then started doing business because my next door neighbor was a businessman, so I was following him around. And for 15 years, I was doing all kinds of businesses. Sorry, you won't believe it.
It all starts from somewhere.
I've done buy and sell, whatever, general merchant, importation of wines, importation of match, importation of this. I've done timber, air conditioning business. I've done oil downstream and midstream. I've done civil and electric engineering contracts. I've done everything before until it got to a point, 15 years in that jungle, I will call it. And then one day I went to the bank asking for 20 million CDs, which was about $20,000 at the time. And the bank took about 2 months plus to sort of evaluate it and all that.
Oh, even to evaluate it.
And then they called me one day and said, Kofi, come, we've resolved your problem. And I rushed to the bank and I said, so where's the money? And they said, we approved 3 million.
Really?
Yeah, out of the 20 million. It was for a specific task of importing air conditioners and satisfying orders that I had. And I felt so deflated. And I remember I went to the MD's office and I said, do you know that 20 is not divisible by 3? I said, what's that supposed to mean? I said, yes. I want to know what percentage of what I applied for did you give to me? And I was irritated and I was mad and everything. And I asked myself, I said, but really, what's lending about? And I was a retired army officer, 15 years doing business in Ghana. I was a chartered accountant. I'd gone to school administration. I said, I will start lending. If I cannot raise money, then virtually nobody can raise money. So then I went through registering a company and got a license to start Unique Trust Financial Services.
So it's Unique Trust
Financial Services. And we went through the normal problems, raising monies and doing all sort of things. But we found solutions to the challenges and we grew the company from the start. I had a staff of 3, 1 room, no toilet, no curtains. And we're holding on to costs and things like that. And we're able to grow this eventually, just to sum it up. In 2012, we had a conglomerate, including a bank, a properties company, logistics company, UT Life, UT South Africa, as we ventured outside, UT Nigeria, we're in Hamburg and everything. And so I know it can't be done.
Yes, of course.
And no libido, no laba,
Yes,
nothing.
yes.
Just working with insane staff.
But you have to make a lot of sacrifices. Right?
Of course
You're
you do.
explaining right at
And
the
my staff
beginning,
also
right?
did a lot of sacrifices.
Yeah.
And we were on. The vision was clear and we knew what we were doing. And from a staff of 3, as I said, by that 2012, we were employing directly 2,500 plus.
Right.
Yeah, being paid every month. And therefore, when it comes to the issue about Africa and leadership and mindset and I think I've seen it. I made some mistakes along the way. Some I could correct, some I could not correct. But then around 2014, I realized there was a problem with the bank.
Right.
Because we had a lot of loans uncollected and stuff like that.
Okay.
And
The
then
facilitation of the loans is
yeah.
where the issue becomes.
2015, I decided to step down and we put a restructuring plan in place. So I wasn't the CEO from 2015, and 2017, about 20 months later, the new government of MPP decided to close some banks,
Yes,
and therefore UT Bank went down.
Yes.
And well, so that is a part of my story. I think I've been talking too much.
That's fine.
But it's one complete story. I can't leave certain things out. I've tried to leave a lot out, but I hope this
I think
suffices
you've
for.
summarized it quite well because your story is massive, of course. So, but I think you've compressed it quite nicely, just for our listeners to be able to understand where you're coming from. So your trigger was when you realized that you could not even get a loan at the bank, and that's what made you think that this probably could be
There's
done.
a huge gap, and therefore I could fill in the gap and find solutions for it.
Okay, so in other words, for our listeners, the inspiration is that if we find ourselves with a problem, getting stuck somewhere, the first question that we want to ask ourselves is, what can I do to fix this? Okay.
Exactly.
And that could be a huge opportunity.
Exactly. Anytime you hit that snag, it's a call.
Yes.
But of course, if you don't have what it takes, you can't do anything about
That's
it.
true.
But if you have what it takes, sit back and say, what can I do to change it?
Yeah.
Because entrepreneurship is about giving people what they need. It's about making the world a better place, coming with solutions for people's lives to become better.
Absolutely. Yeah, I fully agree with that. So you have these 2 books that you want to share with us. Right?
So thank you very much. So I wrote the first book because one thing, my philosophy is I want to die empty.
Yes, I like that philosophy too.
So whatever God has given me, the experiences, the
Do you
mind.
think that a lot of us prefer to die full then?
No, some people have to die embedded with a whole lot of things because they can't put it out. I think I have nothing to hide.
No, okay.
So the first book is UT Story, Volume 1, Humble Beginnings. That is where I said we started with a staff of 3 and no toilet, no curtains, but we struggled through up to where we became recognized that we had arrived.
Yes.
And then the book 2 is actually the UT Story, Building a Winning Team. It's where you put structures in. Initially, it was just me, don't do this, I'll sack you. But here we put structures in and build a team.
Right.
And then we went on to build the branches, and then we built the properties and logistics company and international companies and things. All that is the book 2.
Awesome.
And it's talking about the kind of culture we had, the values that we espoused and things like that. It's all in the book 2.
Right.
And we have the book 3, which is done, but we're yet to put it out. It's talking about we getting into the bank, the good things we did, which actually changed the banking sector a bit. We actually changed.
Right.
Today, when you hear
very innovative.
Today, when you hear extended banking, that was UT, because we came in and said, listen, Makola women close at 6, and the banks close at 2 o'clock or something. It doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
So we extended banking service to 6 o'clock, and also workers close at 5, and the banks close at 2. Didn't make sense to me. So certain branches, I said close at 6. It took a bit of logistical requirement, but we did it. And now banks are inviting people for loans. They were not. So we did a bit, and we were recognized for it. But then, of course, I say,
You, Miffy Manfi.
no nsuo no boy here.
Matia Sepa. Okay, I
You
like
know,
that too.
so it's okay. I mean, we did what we could,
Yeah.
and we take the whatever result out of it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So where can one get your wonderful books? Here?
The books, the book two is even on Amazon. The
It's on
book one
Amazon.
and book two are on booknook.store,
Right.
who is a Ghanaian, what do you call it? Equivalent of Amazon, for lack of a proper
Right. But
description.
for
But then they are available at Kingdom bookshops, EPP bookshops, Airport Shell, all the major bookshops carry
good.
it. Yeah.
Right. Just so that everyone
So they are
knows
available.
where they can
The
get
problem
them.
is that Ghanaians,
We don't like to read.
not only
right,
Ghanaians,
so-
now with social media, everybody's on the phone almost the whole day. So people
Yes.
don't have time to read.
Is it on Kindle, Kofi? You know,
No,
Kindle. Kindle
no.
is like a soft copy
Yeah.
of books.
Yeah, okay. It's not, we haven't put a
So I
soft
think it's
copy
probably
out.
worth
And then we're also
exploring
looking at the
that.
audio,
Yeah.
because some people
Yes,
say
the
when they are
Audible.
driving, then they want to listen and things. So
Yeah.
we're looking at
So
that.
those avenues
Yeah,
are worth
yeah.
exploring.
But it's worth a lot because it had a huge endorsement by
Mm.
the dean of school of business school.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because he says, listen, all along from my time to now, I mean, you teach students of the business school
Mm.
with books from the US and UK and things.
Yes.
This is practical
Africa.
stuff.
For Africa.
Accra, Makola, Kantamanto are all inside.
Like that. Like
And
that,
therefore,
absolutely.
I think it's a must read for
Yeah.
anybody who wants to expand their ideas about leadership, about
Mhm.
entrepreneurship, and leading people and stuff like that.
Yeah. Maybe the next project, Kofi, is that you create a movie out of it. Is what I
I've
recommend.
heard that, but
That could work very well, by the way.
I would give it to you to work on it.
Okay.
But have you read
We'll
it?
put that- which one? The
Any of the books?
Not yet. No.
Read
But
it,
now
and if
that
you think it's
yeah, I'll
it's a
definitely,
bankable one for a movie,
yeah.
but don't ask me to go and act any part in it because I think it will be a bit stressful.
But that's really awesome. So hopefully our listeners are taking note of those two
Okay.
books there and would invest in it. So yeah, Kofi, let's dive deeper into the. It's great that you've given us an introduction of your background, your journey with UT Bank, which looks like a very a wonderful story, and you've shared with us your books there. I'm hoping that people will take the time to read it so that they can really resonate with it. But yeah, so let's try and dive deeper into this topic about character building. And I was thinking about this word potential, because our young Africans are probably not aware of what they have inside of them, right? So from your perspective, do you believe that to be the case, that we have a lot of young people who are not aware of what the capabilities that they have, the potential to do great, amazing things? Are there any reasons why they don't see this potential in them?
It's a tough question.
Yeah.
I think the majority of the young ones do not know the potential they have.
Right.
It's sad, but it's true.
Yes.
We have, on one hand, our own culture by which we bring up kids,
Yes.
right? And the typical African way of bringing up kids, especially in the villages and rural areas, is you don't challenge authority at all.
Yes.
And if you even talk back to your big sister, it's like, how do you talk to your big sister like that? Well, how do you talk? In fact, even in some society, you don't even look into the eyes of the elders.
True. Yes.
So what I'm trying to say is that most of us are not even raised properly from our homes.
Right.
Because modern day, you need to challenge the system and ask questions about leadership and things, but we don't do that.
Yes.
And the reason why we don't do that is that we have formed our own cultures. And the cultures that we formed is because of our environment. The African environment is a very funny one, and most people don't understand that it is the cause of our problems. See, the African environment, for some reason, God put the African in the best part of the earth. Think about it. Where God put us is all green throughout the whole year, no difference in temperature, food in abundance. When I was a kid, I go to the farm with my grandmother and says, "Oh, let me get some yam." Goes into the forest and we have yam and we go away.
Yeah.
And that's how Africans have lived for probably 1,000 years, if not more. Now, when you have such an environment, not only are things given free to the African by way of the environment, what baffles me, there's also virtually no natural hazard. No earthquake, no tsunami, no hurricane,
That's
no tornado, no snow, nothing in our part of the world. So we're not challenged.
No.
And it was doted on us. If you take a typical home where the parents decide that this is our love child, and they dote on that child, and they don't discipline that child will certainly not turn out well.
Yes.
You believe?
Yes.
So I think in the same way, and I believe in the same way, the African was pampered, for lack of a better word, and therefore we refuse to think, literally.
Yeah.
You didn't have to stock food for winter. You didn't have to stock food for when hurricane comes. You didn't have to stock food for anything. The food was abundant. If you throw seeds anywhere, they
Very
generate.
fertile.
And that's how we've lived. So typically, for you to get what I'm trying to say, whereas time meant everything to people who were desperate and were in the temperate regions, for example, time meant everything.
Yeah.
For us, we had too much time. And therefore, our problem was actually to waste time.
Okay. That's an interesting concept.
Yes. So the issue is the typical African gets up in the morning, what he will eat is guaranteed.
Yeah.
He can't see himself or herself and the family getting hungry. So if there should be a meeting, they are sitting down and probably drinking or whatever. Can you call? Can you call Wafa so and so? And they are sitting there for about 2 hours waiting for them to come before they start their discussion.
Yes.
I keep saying that some tribes, even greeting takes about 10 minutes. Where you were in the UK and things like that, you have your hands in your pocket and you say hi, and you are off to go and find a fire to warm your hands. And we will stand outside for 10 minutes greeting. If you have a wedding, it's the whole day. Engagement, whole day.
Yeah.
As for funeral, you know.
Oh, I think that's the
We're keeping 1 week, 40 days, 1 year, but the Africa is sitting down. If it's festival, we're talking 1 month.
Yes.
So you see, we develop cultures or traditions to waste time. But time is all we have as living things. When your time is up, they say you are dead.
Yes.
But we don't get it. And it's the environment which created us like that.
Right.
So to come to your issue about potential, things have changed. There's now urbanization, and even water now is a problem for some people to have and drink, and the farms, galamsey, and all sort of things. We don't want to go there. We need to bring the youth mind to our current situation, and the way you need to have a different mindset from where our forefathers are coming from to be able to change the narrative. I hear a lot of prominent people, statesmen, politicians talking about Africa has got resources, and then how it's not right that we should be where we are. It's not resources, it's the mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
It's the mindset.
You can have everything
I tell a funny story. Akwatia, where they have diamond and things like that.
Yeah.
You know, when my mates, when they were kids, they go and throw stones at beds. The bed is probably like this.
Right.
And when the Brain River is flowing, you can see gold nuggets. And they'll use the gold nugget to kill the bed. Because they say after the gold nugget, if it hits the bed has no chance at all.
Right.
We didn't know what the resources were about. So don't talk about resources. Let's talk about the mindset here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will be by this, all these resources, and they will all be taken away as it has been done all over the years.
Over the years, centuries.
That is why I'm obsessed with this leadership program thing. We need to change the mindset, but to change somebody's mindset, you should know the mindset that they have. Our mindset is so wrong. So we need to change that mindset and say it is not what we've been brought up with, it's not what we've been learned to believe. The situation is different.
Right.
And unless you believe in structures and systems and you are God-fearing and you have respect for everybody and you give commitments and you follow it through and you have integrity,
Yes.
you cannot do
integrity.
anything.
So, yes.
And these are the values we need to inculcate in the youth. Otherwise, Africa will never go anywhere.
Right.
So, to your point,
Mm.
yes, the potential is there. It will always be there. It's always been there.
Yes.
But how do we get our youth to seize it?
Mm.
And it won't come easy.
No. Yes.
It
So
won't
it
come
needs
easy. You see,
a radical shift.
the African has been brought up to even to the extent where we tend to be defined by worldly things.
Mm.
You understand what I mean? The
Yes.
African wants to take our typical traditional setting, and the chief will put on all the gold and everything to show his position.
Yes.
And that defines him, because without the gold and the kente, advanced kente and things like, they are not chiefs.
Mm.
But the world is not about worldly things. It's not about wealth. If you have it, it's nice. I mean, but you don't let it define you.
No.
So
it
the
shouldn't.
children who are coming should be coached to have
It's more important to have a set
an
of values.
inner,
that
exactly,
we-
inner values, which is nicer than the worldly things.
Mm.
And that is part of the things that I'm trying to teach my P.K. Mabin scholars,
Yeah.
that it's not about you. It's okay if you have worldly things, but don't let it define your whole living.
Mhm.
What should define you is what you can do to impact people's lives in this world
Yeah.
positively.
Mm. Mm.
And that's most important. That's why we are here. Because any creator will only create things if that thing will going to improve his creation.
Yes.
So
yes.
God put us here to try and improve what He's created. It's
Mhm.
as simple as that. And nobody can deny that fact. But if you come and you want to take what God has created and let it define you and do all the stupid things that some people do
Yes.
without caring for other people, then I have a problem with it.
Yeah.
So we need to take a step back and try to look at ourselves, why we are the way we are, as I'm explaining, and then change the mindset, especially of the youth, because that's for the older ones. Maybe some of it is a lost cause.
Is it too late for our older, the older ones in our society? you
Let me
say?
tell you a funny story. My chief, Rochi, went to some village and he was telling them that, they should give the youth a bit of meat, because they need it to develop. But the older ones, it's just sweet and nice, but the boy doesn't really need it. So once of chicken, this time we can buy the meat. And so we should. So when are we going to eat meat?
Yeah.
When we're children, we're not giving.
Yeah,
And now we can buy.
Yeah,
They say we should give it to
you should
children.
give
That's
to
why school
kids.
never eat.
Yes.
And so to
yes,
that extent,
yes.
we can excuse the older ones
Yeah.
and concentrate our effort on the youth.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we lead the youth. So if we don't change our mindset and strategize how to change the mindset of the youth, then we're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
But to what you're explaining there, Kofi, it sounds like we have to take a look at our culture, isn't it? Because that is a very
Precisely.
key part, which is
As a
feeding
country,
into-
as whatever.
Yes.
We have a culture. You see, nature abhors vacuum.
Mm.
This was taught me from 1 or
Yes.
from 2.
Yeah.
Because we don't have, or we don't follow the right systems that will bring development. Systems like the rule of law, sanctioning people, appointing right people into authority, and appointing other.
Mm.
The gap has been filled
Yes.
by our wrong system.
Mm.
You know, our wrong system. Things happen because of family and friends.
Yes, that we have a loyalty towards
Family and friends. So,
regardless of whether it's the right
so-
thing or not.
like, people accuse the current government of appointing family, relatives, and tribesmen, Achim Mafia, and things.
Yes.
That is the African.
Yes, that's true.
So family and friends influence whatever we do.
Mm.
Then we have traditional rulers. Eh, we dey nana, eh, we dey nana, nana say, da, 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 da.
Yes.
So they disturb the normal flow or going by principles and system.
Mm.
Then you have our pastors.
Oh, wow, that's a big area.
Exactly.
Very influential.
Absolutely.
I
Especially
think that's probably the. I see our pastors as being more influential than our politicians.
because
What do you think?
no, they take over the
Mm,
minds of the politicians, so they become more powerful.
okay.
Because I shouldn't say that. If
Mhm.
I am the president,
Yes.
which pastor? Which
Mm,
pastor is going to tell me something to do? But you see,
yes.
the pastors help them with their congregation and whatever to get to where they
Mm,
are, and
yeah.
monies and things like
Our
that.
exchange, right?
You know, so
Mm,
so when our leaders get elected, they get into position. The systems like family and friends and pastors and
mhm,
traditional leaders and Freemasons and all those things
mm,
make decide things for them.
mm, mm,
But what should actually decide things for us as a nation is the rule of law,
yeah.
the policies and the system, and it's all there,
Mm.
but we can't apply them
Yes, the application of them.
because there's too much interference
Right.
from all these things I'm talking about.
Yes.
That is the problem.
So we have a conflict.
Exactly.
Basically, isn't it?
And
Right.
if you want to be president or president again, you must give in to those pressures
Yes.
because they are going to give you the
Otherwise,
votes.
yeah.
So we are in a catch-22 situation.
Mm. Yeah, and I'm guessing that to change our you're talking about like tradition even, isn't it? Some elements of it is
Yeah.
our tradition
Yeah.
in terms of how we do things.
Yeah.
But to change that, that's going to be a tall order, isn't it? To change
Very tall.
yes. Yeah.
Very, very
Yeah.
tall. And the issue is, and it's only theoretical, really,
Mm,
we need to change our democratic system.
right.
One man, one vote will never get us out of this.
Because of the voter.
Before anybody can become a president under this dispensation,
Mm,
by the time you become president, you owe money left, center, right. You owe favors all around.
yes.
You have people who have actually play their role and therefore feel they have powers in the parties and things like that to do whatever they want. And you appoint these people, they are not accountable and responsible, and you cannot check them.
So they can't even follow the values that you would like. to
Exactly.
see.
So this system, but the point is, the reason why I'm saying it's theoretical is that which party or government will be in power to say that we don't want the power, we're going to change the system.
Mm,
They want to, and the president is so powerful.
yes.
Somebody gave me a figure of that the president appoints or gives his consent for appointment of over 6,000 people.
Oh, really?
So
Never knew
so
that.
so why would he give away this power?
Mm, right.
And his party people won't let him give away this power because they all want to feed from it.
Mm,
You know.
yes.
So we're talking about it. It's not. I'm only saying it because we must appreciate it is not simple. It's not easy.
No, yeah, that's what it sounded
You know,
like.
So I think about the youth, and I'm saying, well, you don't throw your hands up in the air and say it cannot be done. So we do the bit that we can.
Yes. That's the key bit. I'm glad you said those very words, Kofi. We do the bits that we can. So in this environment, as we're discussing, where these traditions and systems and what have you are not really working for us, what is it that our youth can do in order to navigate and still of course you mentioned mindset, because mindset's quite key, isn't it? And understanding that I find myself in an environment where I'm sort of handicapped, if you like, of being able to do anything, right? But there's always something that we can do, isn't there? I mean, could the youth come together and say, come together as a one large force and say, okay, government, our systems need to change, and demand just that? Could it be that our youth are not asking for the right things and are just accepting the status quo?
I mean, we have youth leaders, but they all have been indoctrinated and they look for cheap money so they can be bought by the politicians easily.
Yeah, they can be bought too.
You know,
right?
so yes, the
Yes.
youth, but without and one thing which is sad is that I find that people who want to live righteously and live by values have become an endangered species.
Yes.
And they are getting fewer and fewer by the years.
Yeah.
Because it's very, very difficult
It's difficult
to live upright
Right.
and say that I'm going to depend on my salary. Those who are lucky a bit or who are doing a great job is they find a second job or they have a car that they rent and things like that to supplement and things. But then you see, excuse my word, a complete idiot who is now rich and being revered and he has everything, and within a few years, he's bought cars, nobody's asking any question, and he has houses, and he's throwing away money.
But that's the question, Kofi. How come this person is being revered?
Because the system is so broke, people are so broke that they have to revere him for some 100 cedis or 20 cedis as he passes.
Right.
So they can have a meal for the day.
Yes.
And I tell you, I see a lot of them around, and I'm looking at them and saying, is this what we want as a country? But the system is not asking questions. I don't mind people having money, but you must explain to us why you have the money, the taxes you've paid for working on our roads and enjoying the security of the state. And you must pay taxes for the government to function.
Yes.
But nobody talks anything. And it's the poor entrepreneurs and things that the GRAs will go after and make their life almost impossible.
Yes.
And they are rather paying people. So we got it all wrong. And people are really, really taking the country for a ride.
Yeah.
So everything starts and ends with a leader.
Yes.
Let's call a spade a spade.
Right.
It's not about leadership as a group of people. It's the head of state, president.
Right. And you think that's where
that is all the problem. So we must change, if we can, pay attention to change our democracy so democracy has a chance of giving us a good leader.
Right.
But this particular one, forget it.
Right. So you think that, because I've often wondered whether as a people, if we come together, we have even more influence than just the leader.
But you won't come together. The people who are supposed to bring you together have all been bought.
Let
me give you an example. For example, we don't keep time. It is part of our culture. We don't keep time.
Yes.
If we have a president who says, wait, we're losing too much on time, I will report on time for every meeting. And if I give an appointment, I'll be there on time. And I will insist that everybody also respects time.
Yes.
And he starts sanctioning his immediate subordinates for being late.
Yes.
The whole Ghana will change.
That's true.
It will change.
Yeah. Especially in this environment.
At UT, when I was CEO, the UT that I built, no meeting started late, even when I'm not there.
Okay.
No.
Really?
Because if I'm there, you come and meet me there. And I'll look at you and you'll be sanctioned. Either you're appraiser or something.
Yes. Right. Okay.
It can be done. It's not difficult. And if the president says, I'm cutting the expenses of my office.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go with more than maybe 3 patrols or whatever convoy.
That's leading by example.
Exactly, to sum it up.
Yes, leading by example.
Then you can look at some of these vehicles and say, who is the president? If I'm using 3 vehicles, how come you want to use 4? You have to explain to me why you want to use 4.
Yes.
And take the simple issue about sirens and things like that. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry can put a siren on and push us onto the side of the road. The law is there. Those who can use these sirens, the president, the ambulances, the fire service, whatever, period.
Yeah.
But the IGP, who is a very great guy.
Dampari.
Yeah. Yes. The IGP has to be very careful because if he goes to stop somebody, maybe the daughter or the niece of the president, he may lose his post.
Right.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
So he has to be careful.
Yeah.
But he's a decent police officer.
Yeah,
but he has to walk a tightrope. So that's why I'm saying those things, relations and chiefs and things, interfere with the system so much so that it's not working.
Yes, right. Yeah. So in other words, we have ourselves to blame as a people then. And that, because, we as you said, I was talking about if we were all to come together as a people, then we can start to probe and ask for the right kind of changes. But if as a people we're all
how can we come together?
If we are
let me throw a question back at you.
Yes.
We started this issue about fix the nation.
Right.
They came by and said fix yourself.
Yes.
Man,
yes. Fix yourself.
You have the armed forces, the police, the GRA, the customs and everything. You collect our own money from us and run the country and say, I should fix myself. How? fix the damn thing, otherwise get off.
Yeah.
But we
Well,
don't get it.
But there's an interesting perspective as well, Kofi, in that if as individuals, we are not conforming or abiding, that you gave all
The
these
police is there
examples.
for what? The
Mm.
prisons are there for what?
Yeah.
The armed forces is there for what?
So apply the necessary discipline.
course.
For those that
The
don't.
laws
Yeah.
and whatever, the judges and the courts are there for what?
Yeah.
There are a lot of crazy people in UK where you reside most of the time,
Yeah. Yes.
but they're around the country.
Mm.
If they have to put you out, they put you out.
Yeah.
That is the sign of good leadership.
Yes.
But when your
With
leader
the
is,
system actually working
Exactly.
the way that it should.
but
Mm.
when the leader is tied down because he believes that these chiefs got him votes and these pastors worked out and prayed for him to become president, and the brothers and the sisters and things like that, then we are done.
Yes. Yes.
That's the problem.
Yes. Yes. So yes.
But and we cannot under this dispensation. We cannot. And I'm I'm quite desperate and irritated by this.
Mm.
I don't see how under this dispensation we
Yeah.
can get a leader who will do what is right
Mm.
in the interest of the people, especially the youth, because we
Yeah.
cannot let the next generation. I shudder to think of what the next generation is going to be.
Absolutely, yeah, and they are crying for change. The
So we won't give up, but
populations.
the openings are few, but
Mm.
we'll still do what we can.
Yeah,
At least you die saying that we tried.
but on the subject of character, one of the important traits of character is courage. Would you agree?
Character comes from upbringing,
Mm.
very committed what you believe in,
Yeah.
and courage, yes.
Mm.
But the point is, when you get committed to what you believe in
Mhm.
and you don't see any reward, rather you get rebukes and
get,
people
yeah.
jeering at you and things,
Mm.
you give up at some point.
Yes.
Everyone, when they will give up, I've known too many decent people who have changed.
Right.
And as they change, I say, oh God, this one too is gone.
Mm. Do you think that the decent ones in our society have rather chosen to just become quiet and just mind their own business, and not be
Some
be sort of publicly vocal about
some
need
I agree
for-
with you that some of them have gone quiet and doing their own thing, but some have gone quiet because what they do, they cannot raise their voices.
Yes, that's
Because
what
if
I
you
was
raise your voice, they
thinking.
probably will silence you one way or the other.
Yeah.
I probably I'm a bit stupid, I guess, because I'm in court. The government can use the court probably. People believe the government can use the court to do something to me.
Yes.
I still speak my mind.
Yeah.
At 72, there's nothing
Yeah,
that
but that's speaking to courage, I think, Kofi. I mean, because you have to be courageous.
I
isn't
need
it,
to do something for the youth. I cannot give up. And I said this on the inauguration of I said my grandfather,
Yeah.
whom I was named after, did not believe in independence for Ghana. And he told
Oh,
my dad,
okay.
he said, the black man
Because we were
cannot
not
rule."
ready.
Yeah.
Mm.
And my dad said he was surprised.
Yeah.
So when he was about to die, he told my dad and said, you didn't believe me, but me, I'm going. So when you come,
That's right. Yeah.
come
And you will see
and
what
testify
you,
whether
yes.
what I was saying was right or not.
Yes.
And my dad called me
Mm.
and said, Kofi, this is what your grandfather said about it. Charlie, it's
Okay.
bad.
Yeah.
I am
Because he could
I'm
foresee.
getting there.
Mm.
And I'm going to tell him the same story.
Yes.
But I said, I want to tell him that, listen, it's bad. But
Yes.
I started something
Yeah.
that might change the narrative.
Yes.
But I also told my son anyway. I
Mm.
said,
Mm.
Kweku, it's not good, but
Yes.
this is what I've started doing.
Right.
And maybe you carry on with it. And hopefully we can change the narrative
Mm.
about mindset.
Oh
and
yeah, I mean that's the very least we have to do, isn't
Yes.
it? Is say that yes, we
So
are faced with this.
I feel that I have to be on a mission
Mm.
to do whatever is in me to try and change this narrative
Yes.
for Africa generally.
Mm. And you think it's possible?
It is possible.
Good. That's a good mindset to
It
have.
is possible.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why it is possible is this.
Mm.
When the black guy, or let's say the Ghanaian, goes out of Ghana,
Mm.
invariably they succeed. They shine.
Mm.
Sometimes they even beat
the locals of
the
where
local
they are.
people in
Yes.
class, at work.
Oh, there's a lot of
You
that.
realize, so
Yeah,
it's not a hopeless case.
yeah.
We can shine, we can beat the competition and things like that. But
Yeah.
you ask yourself, how is that possible? Because take a country like Nigeria, they
Mm.
have serious experts
Oh,
in
I know
all
it.
fields.
I know
But
it
look at the
very
state
well.
of Nigeria.
Yes.
So you ask yourself, why?
Yeah.
It's because when the African leaves the shores of Ghana
Mm.
and goes to, say, Europe or America,
Yeah.
one, they have left this wrong cultures here. The
Mm.
influence, what I mean is your influence of your family and friends
Environment,
is almost gone
basically.
to zero.
Yes.
If you like, you can get in touch with some friends, but they cannot influence
Yeah.
you where you are.
Mm.
Your pastors, you let them behind.
Mm.
If you like, take another pastor, that's your business.
Mm.
Your chiefs and traditional leaders and things like that, they are out of the way.
Mm.
And certainly your politicians can't touch you. You're on
Yes.
your own.
Yes.
That's one aspect. The other
I never thought about it.
The
this
other
way,
aspect is that he's gone into a system where the systems work.
Actually work.
You
Yes.
can't say, oh, sir, this man, they made £1. No,
Mm. Yes.
it doesn't work like that
That's
there.
true. Yes.
So then the black man wakes up
Mm.
and goes by the system, and we are good at it.
Yeah.
So is it possible? Yes, it's possible.
Mm.
But what do we need to create? We need to get a leader who create the systems and ensure that the systems are working. But
yes.
our leaders can't do it.
Mm. Mm. But it's kind of it's what's the word? It's systemic.
It is
Isn't it?
systemic.
Yeah, in that it's kind of spread into different parts of society, and that's what makes it difficult to try and fix. If it was
It is extremely difficult to
isolated in a
fix.
particular area of society, then you say, okay, let's focus on this area over here and deal with it. So yeah, it being systemic is what kind of makes it a bit more challenging to deal with, but it's possible.
It's possible, but it remains theoretical
Mm.
because I've said that we need to change our democracy.
Right.
Who is going to lead it?
Mm.
Because the people are enjoying will not initiate it.
No. Yeah. Mm.
But we need to really sit down and say we change our democracy.
Yeah.
One man, one vote, never.
Okay. So your perspective is that we want to encourage the youth to start to demand changes in our system, maybe. I mean,
Ideally, yes.
they should.
But what's the platform for them?
Well, it's partly this.
Because if you go to, okay, fine, fantastic. I mean, I appreciate that.
Yes.
You're doing something. I'm doing something.
Yeah.
A lot of people are doing something.
Right.
But if you go to the university, the tertiary institutions, the kind of democracy they are practicing there and the process by which they go through it, it's really sad. It means it's going to get worse. Oh, they actually pay monies and things to be elected and all sort of that.
Oh,
so I'm saying you people that were saying have a change in mindset.
Yes.
You are even worse than what we have at the helm of affairs.
Yes.
But still, I mean, there's a lot of good students, good people, well brought up from their homes. So we try to touch the minds of these people.
Yeah. Yes. So the idea is, of course, we encourage through the different, for instance, your initiative that you're doing. All we need is to create more and more young people who are thinking in the right way, and then slowly we're spreading this.
Absolutely.
The growth mindset is slowly spreading, isn't it? That's the best way we can approach it. Those that know better are encouraging others to embrace a growth mindset and pretty much selling it to them.
It's a great thing, and we probably can support some of the youth to break through and get to serious leadership positions.
Yes.
With the right mindset, saying enough is enough, we want to change it.
Yeah.
And we have to educate them not to go for all the worldly things and money and stuff, but to love people more and to respect everybody and get the right values. It's always the values that change things. Because in my own experience, creating this culture in UT, it took a lot. But as you said, it's leadership by example. And you must consistently, let me tell you something that I used to do. We had free lunch, for example, for all UT staff. even when we're 2,500.
really?
It was a
Mhm.
policy we had, and
Mm.
therefore we went by it. Now, if I should get up, it doesn't matter at what time to
Mm.
go to lunch, I
Yeah.
queue.
Mm.
So you find messengers, cleaners ahead of me. Is
Yes.
that right?
Mm.
And then when I take my food, I take a tissue paper, and I realize they were not cleaning the tables after they had eaten. Instead of sending emails, I said, no, I put my phone aside, clean the table, have my lunch, clean it after me, and take the place back.
Really?
I
You
tell
did
you.
all that?
Yes, I tell you. And everyone changed.
Mm.
When you see the CEO clean the table to eat,
Yes, then you feel obliged to. do
exactly.
the same. Yeah.
And there are numerous examples. So it's all about the leadership.
Mm.
But of course, somebody's going to say, if it was that right, how come? At some point, you know, we lost the culture
Mm.
completely. Because when we went into the bank and we bought an existing bank that was
Oh, of
failing
course. And you have
seriously,
different people
and then we
dynamics.
also had to bring in so-called bankers to come and head all the departments. So
okay.
I'm sitting here.
Mm.
The new people were wedged in between me and the old staff and the bank staff.
Okay.
So whatever I'm trying to preach, they dilute
It's
it,
blocked.
and then exactly it's
Middle
blocked.
management.
And a whole lot of things. And the
Mm.
third book actually is categorizing all the things that played its role into getting the bank into the situation that I'm talking about, as
Right.
we having problems with non-payments and stuff.
Mm.
So, but everything is about leadership and the culture of the institution.
Yes, that I firmly believe. That's the area that I happen
Yeah.
to work in, organizational
Yeah.
culture. And there's this saying, famous saying, culture eats a strategy for breakfast. It's like a famous quote from
Yeah.
Peter
I like
Drucker.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so you cannot implement strategy successfully if you don't have the right culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you resonate with that,
Yeah.
having run a
Yeah,
large
absolutely.
organization.
Because you have your vision,
Yeah.
and then you know what you want to do as the mission.
Mm.
Immediately after that is the value that will take you there.
Yes.
And that is the
yes.
culture you have to create.
Mm.
And the whole HR, whatever policy is about ensuring that the culture is actually
Is
kept.
yeah.
And actually,
Do you think
find-
that organizations in Ghana are conscious about their values? And I mean, you of course you are
yes,
practicing
some
it in
are
UT,
conscious
but
about it, but some is probably decorative piece. They put it there in
just for
the front
nice for it
office.
to look nice.
And then the CEO is sleeping with about 4 of the girls. And things like that. I mean, you break the culture.
Yes,
Because
that's
as
true,
CEO in Ghana, if you sleep with anybody, staff member,
yeah.
it becomes de facto a DMD.
Yes.
And
Not-
if you are
not
sleeping
very-
with
not
3,
good.
then
Yeah.
and at UT, just by the way, we had a policy which we call the Amorous policy. You
Mm.
do not sleep with a staff because the staff is like family.
Yes. And you explicitly have that in
Had
your
that,
code
and
of
I had to
conduct
sack some people out because of that.
Yeah.
And I had to discipline myself.
Yes.
But I know we had some beautiful girls, but
Okay,
they
good.
were out of
But you were
bounds.
not in a position to yeah. You had to lead by example,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
You know. So that's the way to go.
yeah.
We need the values.
So yeah, how do you think young people can actually create their values? You know, I guess they will probably
See,
they need to go through a self-discovery process to.
that is what you're doing. That's what
yeah.
I'm doing. But the values start from home,
Mm,
the upbringing.
mm,
I'll tell you a story. I just narrated a story, and it's like this. This government, very recently, I had an appointment with one of the minister's appointees. And I got there 3:05, and he saw me at 4:30.
mm-hmm.
And when he finally said I should come in, I walked in there. And this appointee, his son, he himself was junior to my son in the same school, and he knows it.
Oh, okay.
I walked in there
Mm.
expecting a warm handshake. He was
Mhm.
seated.
Oh.
And I was looking at him, and I said, and I stretched my hands. I hope I can sit down. Oh, Chief, you can sit down. So I sat down, only for him to tell me in the end that he has an appointment at Jubilee House. So we should make it the next day. I said, no problem.
Yes.
Jubilee House is above everything else.
Yeah.
I went the next day at 2:15. By 3:00, he had not seen me, not even communicating from the secretary.
Wow. Mm.
And
The
this
lack
is
of, yeah.
this is someone holding a public office
Right. Mm.
and seeing somebody probably older than his father.
Mm. Mm. Yes.
And not only that, You know what I've achieved.
Well, it's even a lack of just general respect, though, isn't it? Aside from,
I mean, when I was CEO or whatever in the company that I created myself and all that, I stood up for all women for sure.
yeah,
Actually, for anybody who walks into my office, I find it as a form of exercise. Because I'm sitting and you get out and I stand up.
yes,
And
yes.
I
It's
sort
a
of straighten
sign
my waist a bit and shake hands with you, invite you to sit down. But the current trend of leaders, they
I think it's a role culture too, isn't it? You know, if you're,
I think I'm not saying they are wrong, but I'm saying they were brought up or they've been raised exactly opposite the way I was raised. They have a different upbringing.
yes,
Whether it's right or wrong, leave it for judgment.
yes,
But I don't see how, as a public officer, you should treat people like that.
yeah,
And they feel so big, arrogance and no humility, nothing.
yes, yeah.
And
So as you said, there's those leadership traits that we're missing, isn't it?
absolutely,
Across society.
you know.
Yeah. But then if I'm trying to work out how young people can instigate this, right?
By themselves.
By themselves, yeah. Because that's also a sign of leadership, isn't it? Even if you find yourself in an environment where you can see that there's a lack of adequate leadership being displayed, what can you do to and I say this even as part of my own workshops, is leadership is not about your role title per se, actually. So you can be the cleaner and still be a great leader.
Okay, that kind of
yes. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. We can. I suppose what we're doing at least will generate that.
Yeah.
Create some people who at every level will be leaders. And I also tell people that you can have be a leader of a department in a company that hasn't got great culture. So your department can do well.
Yes.
By the way, the company as a whole maybe not. But anytime I say that, it reminds me of a popular saying that I have.
Right.
Little drops of water evaporate.
Yes.
It doesn't become a mighty ocean.
I think that's also open to interpretation, maybe.
No, little drops of water certainly,
yes,
realistically evaporate.
Yeah.
Having said that, then I say,
maybe
but it's not useless because they help to nourish the earth and also sustain the seas and the lakes and the rivers. So they are very, very important.
Yeah.
So at least what we're doing could be little drops of water, but it's needed by the system.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the system will just go rotten.
Oh yes. Yeah.
So we
have to do something.
A lot of it.
Yeah. And so you think that for our young people, they should still they shouldn't give up.
They shouldn't give up. We're talking as if it's not the whole system that is rotten.
Yeah.
There are a few people, I mean, like my scholars, I had to look through and assign them to some mentors. Mentors that I know with my interaction, they have the right values. And there are quite a few of them, quite a lot of them. And it wasn't difficult placing the 20 of them at all.
Yes.
And I still have a lot of mentors in mind. Okay. People that I know live the value.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't give up. But we should urge the people who are right and have the right culture to come out and do more for the youth.
Right.
You know, like you said, if you just keep quiet, even though it's getting rotten all around, at least if you can mentor 5 people, 10 people, and sponsor them a bit, it will go to.
So if everyone is making,
and I know a lot of people who can pay fees and look at people and be guardian angels to a lot of people. I think we should be doing a lot more of that. I should have done more when I was CEO of UT Bank, but even now that I'm on pension and the business is no more and things like that, I'm still doing what I can.
Right.
Because what do I need? I mean, I don't need all those flamboyant things and worldly things for me.
No, I can see you're more focused on impactful change as opposed to owning.
So we should have a lot more of the older generation, especially those who have experienced a better youthful days.
Yes.
To try and give something
back.
Back to the system. Right. I think that is a call that we have to make.
Excellent. Well, I think we've spoken extensively about this topic now, Kofi. I think what I like about our conversation is that you have been very open and honest about
I
our
always am.
challenges, and that's what we like, because our listeners want to be able to resonate with the insights that you're sharing. So thank you very much, Kofi, for
Thank you so much.
participating in this episode. We hope that our listeners would get some value from these conversations, and actually on our Believe Africa podcast, the interactions between our listeners would also help
Yeah.
with exchanging ideas and finding ways of developing a better character. But as we can see here, Kofi's given some really valuable insights around our culture being a very key part, our systems. So these are all broad systemic topics that we have to address. And we can only try and address these through conversations between each other. So we can be looking to use the Believe Africa platforms to start those conversations and then having some call to action. So thank you again, once again, Kofi.
Thank you.
Thank you, our listeners, for participating on this. We look forward to seeing you at the next episode. Please continue to engage on our social media platforms, and we will see you at the next episode. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to you joining us for the next episode. Please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channels, along with our social media platforms, for any new offerings and engagements with you as listeners. And we look forward to seeing you at the next episode. Thank you.